with Corey Feldman and Kiwi Kwan.
Keep one.
Is it on? All right, normally I don't do panels, but I see two of my good friends here, and I say, why not?
He was guilted into it.
You have to do this panel. It's Friday in San Antonio. It's like, what better thing to do? Cerveza? No, I don't know. Sorry. Sean and I, we've done a couple of shows together, and he's always in a t-shirt and jeans. And I saw him tonight, I said, he's in a tie and a sport jacket.
It's because I woke up this morning for office.
I looked in the mirror and I thought, God, I look like crap. So I took an Uber to Macy's across the street. I got 3 shirts, 3 ties, a jacket, and a belt. Thank you very much.
All for $19.99, right? It was a special. No, I'm joking. It was a joke.
Well, since all these guys walked in,
tag.
since all these guys walked in here, we didn't do like
maybe
a proper
for $1,999, more like it. Yeah.
Let me just do a real quick proper intro. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mark Walters of BigFanboy.com, and thank you so much for being here for Goonies Never Say Die. Let's give them a big hand. We really appreciate you guys being here at Alamo City Comic Con. And Jonathan, you just mentioned, and I think you're correct, while you guys have done shows together, is this the first time all 3 of you have been on a stage together like this?
Yes, very first time, right? We've never done.
I would just lie, but I don't know if like people can figure it out. Like absolutely.
No, I think there was there was the one that was like a Warner Brothers one, right? That Dick had us do at Warner Brothers, where we all did a panel together. But for actual Comic-Con or anything like that, I don't.
This would be the very, very first time.
Yeah. So there you go.
And
All for you.
I'm sure you guys have a lot of questions for us, right?
Yeah, we're going to take some questions
And
from
we're
the
going to get
audience.
one from everybody.
A couple of quick notes. If you can, please try to keep your questions short so that we can get through as many of them as we can. And please, no requests for any like autographs, hugs, things like that. Just go see those guys at the table. They'll be happy to see you.
How awesome is this room? It's
pretty cool, isn't it?
It's like prison chic.
Nice. Very nice.
I want to kind of kick this off and ask you guys, because I was just revisiting the film the other day in preparation for this panel, and the one thing that really strikes me about this film is, first of all, it holds up very, very well, but second of all, this is not a movie that would be made today, because I mean, when you look at like the real props that were made for the film, the actual ship that was made for the film, there's no way they would ever go through that kind of trouble today. So when you look back on it, does that aspect of the film kind of strike you as being a really special thing, that you were part of this thing that was grander and more epic in scale than what you would see in a movie today? Because today it would all be CGI.
Dick Donner has the pirate ship model on his the table when you walk into his office. And I think Steven might have one of them. I don't know how many there were, but they really loved them. These are guys who are making some of the biggest, coolest movies of their day. And like the signature thing in there, you walk into their offices and they've got posters that say, $300 million for Lethal Weapon, and they've got the, E.T. and all these things. But the thing they really loved was the pirate ship from the Goonies. So definitely love that. My kids just binge watched all the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. And I remember thinking after we did Goonies, wouldn't it be great to do a pirate movie like the Pirates of the Caribbean at Disney, or like Real Pirates or something like that, where it's not just their skeletons, you could... So, I don't know, I feel like things exist in their time and their place. And yeah, I mean, if people want to know about a sequel for Goonies, it's hard to make it because you can't capture that same quality, that same innocence, the same kind of irreverence, the same... just how we all kind of talked at the same time. You wouldn't, you wouldn't be able to get away with that. People don't.
I think that's what's so great about the movie as well, too, because it did recognize an opportunity to allow us kids to be kids. We weren't actors playing these roles. We were just, we're just being ourselves. And I think a lot of, because we were so, great friends, we hung out together, we laughed, we cried. I mean, we were like a big family, and because of that chemistry, it transferred over onto the screen. And a lot of times, I don't think you can make the same movie. I mean, it would cost, $100, $200 million today. We built all those sets. I mean, everything you see up on that screen, it was there. There was no green screen.
Well, there was a little
Almost.
green screen.
It was like the very beginnings of industrial.
And it was
light
blue screen. It wasn't blue. It was blue screen, not green
It
screen.
wasn't, but
No, really,
blue
it wasn't
that
blue
we did,
screen.
It was like matte paintings.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
matte
But
paintings.
when,
It
you know
wasn't
what? I can tell you what it was exactly. It was for the end shot with the pirate ship, and it was for the part where the cave starts to crumble and fall apart right before it gets released. No. Well, that too. Yeah, that's the third one.
But it was like a combination
But
of
when
like miniatures
right
and
when
matte paintings.
the ship is released at the very end of the movie, I don't know, where you start seeing the bits of sunlight start breaking through and all
Yeah.
that. That's the CGI they did.
I remember seeing the screen, like actual physical blue screen when we were doing the bones scene, where if you play the thing
Yeah,
wrong,
yeah.
and and they had the camera down really low, and we kind of were all.
I had to fall into it. I had to let myself go. Steven's down there and he's on a ladder yelling at me, and well, not yelling, but telling me what to do. And there's a crane camera and 5K lights and all the crew, and they're all standing beneath me, and they're like, yeah, so just throw yourself backwards and let the belt harness, which is like a little tiny cable that's like this big. They're like, it'll catch you, don't worry. And I'm like, really? It's gonna catch me? But it did.
But those guys from ILM who came from up north were explaining that technology like it was absolutely brand new. And it wasn't used a lot. It was just, they were almost experimenting with it a little bit. Just like they were with some of the special effects makeup. It was right at a moment when technology was about to leap forward, but it really hadn't yet.
Yeah.
So it was pretty.
The cusp.
We were on the cusp.
This was also a time when maybe things weren't quite, not as many precautions were taken on movie sets as maybe there are now. Did you guys sustain any injuries when you were working on
No, they were, are you kidding? That was Spielberg, man. They were safe.
I remember one of the 10Ks blew up. One of the 10K lights, sometimes they like the old-fashioned big Klieg lights, like you picture in, the 50s or 30s or something like that. And it's made with safety glass, really thick, like bottom of a Coke bottle, safety glass. And if it gets too hot, it can happen where all of a sudden, boom. And I remember everybody kind of ducking while these little bits of glass which had broken kind of the way they're designed to, kind of landing around. But it was definitely like
Yeah.
But but everybody was pretty.
Yeah, it was made to look really dangerous.
Right. No, considering all the perils that we went through. Did you like that? That was a little nod there.
I got it.
Perils. Anyway, yeah, no, really, considering all the, the dangerous elements, I guess you would consider having kids. But the thing is, you also have to remember, they didn't ever let us on the cave sets if they weren't working. And they also didn't let us on the pirate ship set at all until it was ready to film.
Carrie.
We try to
We
sneak
stuck
in.
in. We stuck in.
See, you see, the truth comes out.
Well, that was the big
Okay,
story.
Okay, can we go back to this for a second? So on the DVD commentary, right, I'm the only one that's honest, and everybody else is like, in front of Dick, they're like, nope, never happened. Nope. Right now they're like, yeah, we all snuck in.
We were with Mark, right? Weren't we with Mark Marshall? They were like, if they saw anything, you're fired.
We're all gonna see Dick next week, I'm telling him.
Talking about Richard Donner and working with Richard Donner, at the time, he was like one of the biggest directors in Hollywood. But did you guys as kids have any kind of perception of who exactly this man was? And what was your memory of meeting him and starting to work with him? Because it's obviously different. It was, for him, I guess it was his first movie to really work with kids, a kid cast like that. Is that right? Because he had mostly been known for Superman.
Thinking of The Omen. There's no kidding.
Yeah, The Omen. Yeah. Right.
I think during the production of the movie, like he aged like 30 years.
Absolutely.
We drove him crazy.
Well, he's got this big, booming voice.
Hey, kid!
Hip hop, hip hop. And you kind of get this.
Get over here!
It's a little scary until you get to know him, and he's just like the biggest teddy bear you ever met. But when I auditioned, I kept messing up the lines. Like, sorry, you can't do it. You don't know how to remember your lines. And Steven got up and walked out of the audition. And I was like, well, there you go. Not only am I not going to be in Goonies, but I won't be in anything ever in Hollywood because Steven Spielberg just walked out on me. And Dick came around the table, because they were kind of in this big imposing table in Amblin, and he comes around and he kind of takes a knee next to me and he just talks to me a little bit. And I'm looking at him, and I appreciated that he was doing the bonding thing, but kids are more sophisticated than people give them credit for. And at 12 or 13 or whatever, you know what's going on. But he talked to me, and then he wanted me to do it again. And I did it again, and I still messed it up at the same part, but he could tell that it was that I was like the guy. He could tell that I was the guy. So there was a little bit of a bond that was established.
It was
at that
your
moment.
nervous awkwardness at that moment, though, that sold it. You see, that gave that innocence to the character that they were looking for.
Yeah, I'll try and put that on the next one and see if I can.
That innocence flew the coop a long time ago, buddy.
There were several times where we kind of returned to that rapport with each other. There was a time when they had written for the Fratellis to give a speech about the Spanish Armada, and when Willie had sort of made his break from the Armada and that whole thing, and he said it wasn't working, like it was too sinister or serious when they were doing it, so he wanted me to do it. And it was late at night, it was stage 20, and he brought me outside into the little alleyway. And it's awesome, like the Warner Brothers water towers up there, and you can see the gate where people are coming. You feel like a hotshot. You're like, yeah, I'm on a set. And now the director's having like star to director conversation, and you're like, this is awesome. And he said, I'm going to tell you a story. And he said, I want you to just listen to the story, and then I want you to tell the story back to me. Can you do that? And I said, sure. So he told me the story of Willie and the Armada. And he's like, do you understand it? I said, yeah. He said, are you ready to do it? I said, sure. So we go in and we sit down and we film the thing, and it was like, it's an incredible acting lesson. There was no
remember that moment. I remember that moment. Like I remember.
Yeah, you were like sticking your tongue through the thing or something.
No. That was a different moment, but close together. No.
No, it was a tableau shot.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. It was the fourth shot where we were all kneeled down. We were all kneeled down, and you were looking at the glass thing. And I will never forget, because I was so tempted to want to keep pushing the glass, even though it was cracked. I don't know, it's that obsession that's in a kid's mind. Like I really want to touch it. But anyway, I was looking over your shoulder, and I remember that you were doing well, but there was something that he just wasn't getting out of it. And he pulled you aside and he said, let me tell you a story. And that was
Yeah.
Well, we're going to kick it over to audience questions here in 1 second, but I'm going to go ahead and get to it and just get it out of the way because inevitably someone will ask it. So, Goonies 2. Everybody asks you guys.
Did you guys like it?
Yeah, hold your applause.
It was good, right?
Hold your applause.
It was cool.
So I'm curious because I know everybody always asks you guys about it. Is there talk still about it? How close has it actually become a reality? And is there still a chance?
It's been very, very close a lot. They have millions and millions of dollars against screenplays, meaning they've paid millions of dollars to have different, great filmmakers, great writers do it, and then they haven't made it. So at a certain point, when they ultimately make the movie, the budget of the movie will be whatever the budget is plus the amount of money they've spent on all the screenplays. So that's what they mean when they say money against it. So they have millions of dollars against this movie, which is really rare. It's really, I don't know, now in the comic book age, maybe they do stuff where they'll, Avengers or something, I don't know, but they've tried. Steven is the decider, the sole decider. He's never gotten to a place where he thought it was good enough.
Good enough.
Well, I think Chris Wilson is also working on a draft.
Yeah.
There's so many, over the years, there's so many writers that they hire. I have a couple of USC writers graduated from the writing program, and we get together, and he said, yeah, I just went in and pitched a version of my Goonies 2 story. So I know the meeting with a lot of people, and just...
That was recently?
There's always people doing it. I mean, the hottest people in Hollywood
I
always
haven't heard anything in like a year. I think it's been a year since I've heard anything at all.
They just, I don't think they listen with an open mind anymore.
I don't think so either.
I think everybody knows what the version that they want to do. Here's what's going to happen. They're going to reboot it. It's going to be completely different, and the actors from the Goonies will be invited to do little cameos like they did in Ghostbusters.
And it'll suck, and everybody will hate it, and that's the sad, unfortunate truth, so live with it!
We don't want that.
You should turn the camera around and
The studios are corporations, and they are not your friends.
But nothing can ever take away what we did.
That's right.
No matter how many versions, they should have done an animated series. I don't know why they never did that. Dick wanted to do a Broadway musical. That would have been great. You know, people love this thing. I said the tattoo thing because every convention I go to, countless people come up and show me their, you know, the ship or the truffle shuffle
Or the four of us behind the map.
whatever they do it. So it's
People
like,
get a tattoo on their leg of the four of our faces with a map, you know? I mean, and I'm talking these are guys.
the hair grows back and it's sort of like no, but I mean,
Our beards all of a sudden, weird Wolfman faces.
from Warner Brothers' perspective, it is a title that is, I don't know if evergreen is the right word, but they know it has legs. All the toys, all the posters, all the whatever.
They're making
they'll keep
slot
doing
machines
it, and there's no slot machines, everything you can, lunch boxes and shirts and whatever. You guys, and we love the characters and we love the story. A lot of us would love to see like where we're at now, you know, like continue where the parents of the Goonies or whatever.
Or where we were 20 years ago, or 15 years ago, or 10 years ago.
Economically, it makes
Of
sense.
course,
It's
but-
just a matter of finding a story that's not going to disappoint the fans.
Here's the problem. Let me be very honest. Like Sean said, like he said, but all in a summary. The bottom line is Dick and Steven and Chris, who are the creators, all have whatever their vision of what they expect from it to be, their own ideas of that in their mind, and nothing will ever impress them or live up to whatever that one magic idea is, and until they hear it from another person, they can't be convinced that it's the right one. So until they find that, it's not going to move forward, and the problem is that at some point, one of us is going to die, somebody's going to die, and then it's a reboot. And that's unfortunately the way it goes. Because I don't think any of us are going to do it without the other.
You know, I do it without Key. He's my favorite, so I can say that.
All right,
Say that
that's-
about my
Samurai
kids.
sword through the heart. That was
I have three daughters. I
Harry
switch up telling them which one's my favorite on any given day.
All right, I know you guys have questions. Let's kick off some audience questions. We have a microphone right here. Who would like to kick off our first question? Is there a microphone over there or just over here? Is there one over here?
Just shout it.
Anybody? If you have a question, raise your hand. Right here. In the red. Yes, go ahead.
First of all, a sequel, regardless of the story, would be much better appreciated by the fans than a reboot. So pass that along to the people. If you
We agree.
if you had to decide where your character was in the sequel, what would you pick?
For who? Who's that question directed to? Oh, okay. Well, we'll start down there.
Where would you want your character to be now?
Oh, God. Go ahead, guys.
I know where I want us all to be. Well, I know where I want the two of us. You have ideas about where you want to be. I want to go back and meet One-Eyed Willy. I want to get in a time machine and go like interact with Willy.
That was, we both wanted that. What do you mean you? Yeah, that was our idea.
Your idea for him was awesome.
Well, it was all one big idea though, right? It was like,
Well,
it
I
all
don't know.
worked
I don't know if
together.
they know this, but at one point, Corey and Sean came up with a story for Goonies 2, and they
And it
actually
was really
went in.
good. It
They
was
actually
really
went
good.
in and pitched it to Dick.
Dick was so great. He was listed first. He took it really seriously. He had his staff, like
2 staff people, and Chris Columbus's head person was there, and
so we really worked on it. We spent a couple of weeks getting it right, and we go in there, and Dick is listening to it, and you can tell he goes into. He's kind of a hippie a little bit. He's kind of there's a piece of.
at
him
first you can tell he's really digging
he
it.
was like closing his eyes, and he was rocking back and forth, and he was like this. And afterward, and we're looking at each other like, okay.
Yeah,
and then after it's over, he goes, "Yeah, we're not going to do that."
I mean, they put a lot of effort into it. Sean,
And we're like, why? The big question was why? And he says, too expensive. Great idea, too expensive. And we said, it's freaking Goonies 2. What are you gonna do? Spend $5 million on
Well,
it?
we had the entire Spanish and English Armada fighting each other.
Right. I mean, this could have been 3 sequels and a prequel. I mean, you have no idea.
But we're going to have Key working at the CERN, this is your idea, at the CERN Super Collider.
We wanted him to be a well-advanced scientist working at the CERN Super Collider, at which point we found out that they had messed up and created a black hole, a ripple in time, and that is how the Spanish Armada got through in the first place, and we had a chance for him to go back and find
It was awesome. It was awesome.
We were traveling to 3 different countries, 4 different countries. It was like the Indiana Jones thing where like first we go to here, then to Paraguay, and then we have to all meet up in
Canary
Egypt.
Islands. And the Fratellis they were always on our heels. The Fratellis were always there. But
Yeah, we had the
at a certain point,
Fratellis
Chunks,
there.
like with the Turkish Navy on top of a battleship, like, go this way.
It was some good stuff, guys. You would have loved it. It was the Goonies sequel we all wanted to see. But, you know, at the end of the day, there are the budgetary restraints, and obviously they know what that
No,
magic
Dick had just done
number is.
a time travel movie.
Oh, yeah.
That's true, and it didn't work out very well, did it?
Like, and I think he was like, yeah, I'm not doing kids and time travel again.
Yeah, the 2 things I don't want to do. Thanks, guys.
All right,
So you know-
this guy over here really wants to ask a question.
What are your thoughts on like, for instance, Stranger Things, and taking, how do I say, inspiration from those decades, and even from, the Goonies and everything?
Stranger Days?
Stranger Things.
Stranger Things. He was on the show. Let him answer that question.
The Duffer Brothers, who created that, sold the show based on a kind of 5-minute thing that they put together that they showed me. And it just created that 1980s feeling. It just tapped in to that nostalgia, Poltergeist and E.T. and Back to the Future and Raiders of the Lost Ark, and like that moment in time, that like 82 to 87 was such a golden era of a certain kind of movie, and they loved it. They grew up loving those movies, and so they basically told Netflix, we want to do something that captures that tone. So the kids on the bikes and the Demogorgon and all that stuff. And I learned about it in cons. People would come up to me and say, you got to see it, this thing is Goonies. And I was like, yeah, but it's more monsters than Goonies, right? Like, I'm such an idiot. And so I watch it, and then next thing I know, I get to be on it. I just did a whole season on it.
What's crazy is Will I Am stopped me in a club one night and he goes, Corey, Stranger Things. I was like, what is that? He's like, it's a TV show. You gotta watch it. I'm like, okay, thanks for the heads up. And now my friend is on it, so look at that.
I was like,
now I have to watch it.
Led Zeppelin loved Lord of the Rings, loved Tolkien. Like, my friend we were driving in his car and he was just playing all these tracks of Led Zeppelin stuff, and they were all named after characters from Lord of the Rings, whatever. But for Will I Am, it's all about Stranger Things, I guess. Like, everybody finds inspiration.
Apparently so. He was very moved by it. I mean, very, he just like...
The kids are awesome, and their performances, they love, the Duffer Brothers love the kids. And it's exactly what you said about wanting to capture kids being natural.
Well, yeah, and I've seen the show. It's a great show. And what's so cool about the 80s is that you have this generation that grew up watching these 80s movies, whether it's Indiana Jones, Goonies, Back to the Future. And then now they're like in their 30s and 40s. And there's a sense of nostalgia. And I think shows like either Stranger Things or was it the Goldbergs?
Yeah, the Goldbergs, yeah.
So shows like these are for that generation. And I think
amazing
it's
how,
awesome.
like, whatever show is hot, like, I'll be on a treadmill in some far-flung place, and they're like, oh, they're doing Goonies. In Goldberg's, I remember I was like in the snow in Toronto. I mean, it was like so cold, and I just looked up, and the guy doing Chunk was fantastic. Like, oh,
I didn't get to see it, but you know, they called and asked our permission for that stuff, and then but I never got to see it. Was it good? Was it funny?
there was no sound. It looked great.
Oh, Keith, did you see it with sound?
Yeah.
How-
It's good. It's a good show.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, there's some great, like, iconic images from the Goonies. I mean, if you see, like, 4 kids on a bike, you know, that's a great Goonies, you know, image. So I think the first time that I saw Stranger Things was, you know, there's a great scene where, you know, these kids are riding bikes, and it has that very, you know, reminiscent of the Goonies, you know.
They're almost even more sophisticated. Like the one kid, I remember in E.T., like the pizza, remember when the pizza gets delivered in E.T. and they're all singing and kids are just acting like idiots and the pizza gets messed up and then they go out in the back. It's the same thing, they're playing a game, like those houses have a very specific look, but the little kid was like kind of, he was like offering a pizza to the sister. But like really kind of, I don't know, they're a little bit smarter. They're a little bit smarter now. The 80s kids in 2017 are smarter than the 80s kids in the 80s. Except for Matthew Broderick. Matthew Broderick is the smartest with board games, but.
Anybody over here? Over here. Say it again. How often do you guys have a reunion?
Every other week. Every other week. In a different city somewhere, and we tell them all it's the first time.
What constitutes a reunion? You know, like there's always the 20th and then the 25th and the 30th. And
Sean and I see each other all the time. Key and I see each other once in a while.
And Sean and I, we live like 5 minutes away from each other.
I go running in front of your house all the time.
Yeah.
I do.
And I moved into their neighborhood. So, in fact, we actually kind of have the Goondogs right there, but no, we don't all go down to the pizza store together. We just don't do that. I don't know. It's never happened. Well, now we will. That's right. Everything will change after today, and
after we get our Goonies tattoos.
in fact, I'm canceling my tour, and I'm going
to get Corey right
I'm
here.
going to stalk Sean. I'm going to start living outside your house, and
You can come in. You're welcome anytime.
no, I just like the idea of stalking you. It's
okay.
not quite as fun if I'm invited.
There's a little one over here in the red. Yes.
Absolutely.
Good question. Yeah, you know what? For a long time, the lady who owned the house was so friendly, and she would let anyone who wanted to come up there and go inside the Goonies house, she would let them go in there.
She would do tours. She would
Tours,
tell
like people would
about-
get married up there. I remember going in at one day, I go up there, and there's a wedding, and they're like, do you want to be the witness for their wedding? And I was like, sure. And the people were like, they thought that was so cool. But I thought they would think it was even cooler that Mikey was there. But they were like, cool. And then they went back to their wedding. You know, like, their wedding is what was important to them then. But then,
How dare they take their
I
wedding
know,
more
it's
seriously in the
outrageous.
presence of Sean Astin? That
I
is
was like,
so
do we want to do an interview? Oh, not interested? Okay, that's fine. But then they got, when the Goonies started to really get popular again, and a lot of people started going up there, and they would roughhouse, they would just drink and smoke, and they were like not very respectful of the lady in her house. So at a certain point, she was fed up with it, and she put up a sign saying, no trespassing, and they would trespass anyway. So then she would take this blue tarp and cover the house with it, so that people would stop trying to take pictures. I ended up writing this Facebook post telling the Goonies fans, like, hey, if you love the Goonies and you understand what the movie's about, it was about protecting the sanctity of the home. So don't disrespect it. And she ended up, I think, and then really the city should have bought it, but I think someone else bought it. I have no idea what their relationship to
Well,
it is.
that was, I think, honestly, as far as I know, the actual new people that bought it were the ones who were doing the tarp and stuff, because it was up, she lived in it up until like just a couple of years ago, and then either she passed away or she moved something, and somebody new took it, and they weren't having it. They were like, no.
I had this idea that they should, like, in the Target parking lot, put one of those, like, a huge pole up there, and you could, like, climb up with a spyglass, and you could look at it. I'm like, I'm trying to find a way to make everybody happy, you know what I mean?
Well, no, the problem is now what happens is because, you know, of course the house is still there, the driveway's still there, it's accessible to the street. There's really no way, I mean, if you could be there and know the geography, it's these tiny little dirt roads, you know, so it's not like you can put fencing up or anything. So it's still in the same situation, but now there's a sign that says no trespassing, and it's got the little Goonies figures, and it says, yes, this is the house that the Goonies were shot in. Please don't come up the driveway or we'll shoot you. But if you want to take a picture, you're welcome to do so from down here at this vantage point. Please be respectful of the neighbors.
Has it changed? I haven't.
It's exactly the same. No, I was there last year. Exactly the same.
Yeah.
Wow.
And there's also all the other places in town that we filmed that you're still kind of roughly the same. Like that.
Yeah, like downtown. I mean, like that old downtown.
They built
area
a
is
couple of
like-
places, like the one theater. didn't
I
they?
know, but it still looks pretty 1934.
Right here.
How long did it take to film, movie, and pop to where like working and
I did 5 months, right? I think it took 5 months to make the movie. I mean, that was back then. You can't do. It would cost way too much.
It was about 2 months in Astoria and 3 months.
And Warner Brothers lot.
Yeah, the one that was lost.
Back here.
That I could get to lunch before the crew.
Here, right here.
Come on.
What? I didn't have. I was acting. I didn't have a wish. You know, the character's got this wish. He's really pissed off. As a matter of fact, I remember, you know, Donner actually had like this big talk with me about it because I was like, I just didn't get the whole thing. I was just like, what do you mean I'm taking them all back? I'm not a thief. Why is my character a thief all of a sudden? I'm not going to steal. He says, no, but it's okay because you probably threw them in here. That's what you're thinking. You're thinking you threw these quarters in here and none of them came true and you deserve the right to get them back. And I was like, I get it now. So, you know, I was probably thinking
I remember
about that.
I remember that day, and Peppy, who's a guy who was my guardian, he would drive me to work every day, and
He opened a pizza joint.
he opened
No,
a
just-
pizza. He was a corpsman in Vietnam, and he was a really fascinating guy, and he ended up being my guardian for like 4 or 5 movies while I was a kid because my parents were working actors and they weren't going to like babysit me on the set all the time. So I remember after that scene, he was like crying. Yeah. He thought he was so impressed, and he said that everyone else watching
Because I did
it.
so badly. I feel so sad for the kid. I'll just show you.
There was something about the emotionality of that character and what was going on for him and what was going on for you that connected in a way that was like
Well, it was
legit.
foretelling.
It was legit emotional, and he was like, I remember I wasn't jealous, but I remember like, I don't know. I don't know if I got it either, but it definitely made an impression on me that he was moved by that sense of like
But you know what
pain
it
and
is?
childhood loss.
Yeah, everybody can relate with that idea, you know, because so many people get short-sighted in life and they don't get to live their dreams. And I was that kid, you know, I felt that way. So of course I connected to it in a very real way. But that said, I also was a prophesized moment because I became that daredreamer, if you will, who chose to live outside of the box and follow my dreams instead of follow the blueprint, and it worked out for me. So in the end, follow your dreams, and maybe one day your wish will come true.
Good.
How's that?
Right here.
You're like way too young to have kids.
They refuse to watch it.
For a lot of years, they did not like sloth, and they were not going to watch. Yeah, they were like freaked out. They're big fraidy cats.
That's funny.
They each in their own. Allie is 20, so she just finished her second year at college, and
Beautiful, talented girl, by the way. Wow. What a daughter.
She's in Harvard, right?
she's in Harvard.
Yeah.
Yeah, at Harvard, folks.
So
She's bright.
I remember her, I can't remember when she won. It's really kind of cool because I'm just dad. And I'm the guy who like is sleeping and doesn't want to do stuff. And they're constantly like, all kids, like not wanting to be embarrassed by dad. Like, Dad, you have to wear this, or Dad, don't say anything about that, or whatever. And I'm like, I'm like an adult. I know how to do stuff. And, but every now and then, they will discover something like the Goonies or Lord of the Rings or something, and all of a sudden, they'll kind of like look at me, and they'll kind of look at Dad, and they're like, wow, like, you're actually like good in that. Thank you very much. So, I was going to build on the dream thing. So, Dukes of Hazzard filmed on the back lot, kind of like a couple stages away from us, and they were always wrecking the cars and doing stuff. So one day, this piggybacks on get to the lunch before the crew. So I'm walking from stage 16 down to where the commissary is, and Catherine Daisy Duke, right, rolls up in her Daisy Dukes. And I kind of put my hand out, and she pulls over. She's like, "You want a ride?" I was like, "I would love a ride." So I get into the golf cart, and we go down to the commissary, and she pulls up, and she's like, "Bye." I'm like, "Bye," and I get off, and all the crew's looking at me like, "There's unbelievable." Yeah, that was my dream, and it did come true.
This young lady right here in the front row. Yes, you. Get your hand up.
Good question.
Did everybody hear that in the back?
How did you know sloth's eyes were two different colors?
You can see it.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
I don't mean to be gender or whatever,
Not
but
to say
girls
I
are
haven't seen the
observant.
movie a few times. No, I mean, I've seen the movie like, what, 100,000 million times, and I've never noticed ever.
What I noticed about sloth's eyes is that one is lower than the other one.
Well,
and
we
they
all
look in
know
different
that.
So what they did was they actually made a prosthetic. They took special foam and they put it over his eye. John Matusak was a football player who played sloth, and they covered his real eye, and then it was thick, and they cut it out, and they put a make-believe eye in there, and they put a little
robotic eye.
Yeah, and they could stand back with a remote control. They could move his ears, and they could move his eye. And so, and I always thought it was really, it looked uncomfortable that.
Well, could you imagine having makeup on that's got wires running through it that move your different fake body parts?
And this is supposed to be your eye
Sorry,
here.
but that's just a little wire hitting my ear. Don't worry about it.
But I guess they must have chosen to make it two different color eyes. Of course, at the same time, in post-production, they can kind of, like after you're finished filming it, when they get it into the computer and stuff, they can kind of sweeten the color of the eye, make a blue eye look really blue, or even change the colors of eyes or hair. They can do everything now. It's crazy.
No, and then back then too, I mean, we would have like a 7 a.m. call. With Sloth, the actor John Matusak would show up like 3 a.m. And he would be in his trailer, like spending,
Yeah, it was like 7 hours of makeup.
having his makeup put on him. So
7 hours, man.
And the first version of it was really bad.
Really bad.
Like you couldn't, it didn't look, you couldn't show.
Like octopus bad.
was it scary?
No. Very scary.
Okay, I think
Why they left that in the movie? They left all the mistakes in the movie.
They were hoping one day people would notice so they could do an extended cut.
I honestly, to this day, don't think they know. A bunch of the stuff.
Who is they?
Oh, actually, let's go her next, and then you're going to be the last one over here. Okay, so right here. Is there a particular show or movie that you guys are big fans
So
of?
many.
Star Wars.
Yeah, Star Wars. Yeah, for sure. If I had to pick one, I would pick
Back
Star
to the
Wars.
Future?
Back to the Future.
Oh, good choice.
All of them. I mean, I'm always like 6 to 8 years late on everything. Like, I didn't watch Friends until 2004, and I was like, oh my God, this show's great. It's the last season or whatever. So I just binge watched while I was doing Stranger Things in Atlanta. I had lots of downtime, and my wife and kids were in LA. So I binged the whole Game of Thrones, like from beginning to end. The trick for me was like putting the Bose headsets on. Like, as soon as you put the headset on any of these shows, you can kind of like go into the show. And yeah, so I know the new season's coming out. I hope
My new movie that's coming out is with Dean Jagger from that show.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, no pressure.
There's so many. I mean, there's so many. The two that I haven't watched that I know I need to like go through the whole thing. One is Doctor Who, and the other one is
I haven't seen that at all. I've never seen one episode.
it's cool. It's
haven't seen it either.
the TARDIS is a time machine.
The tortoise.
It's TARDIS. Now that you know it, you'll see everybody comes out.
Is that when they turn a tortoise into tartar sauce?
And the other one is Walking Dead. Yeah. Walking Dead and Doctor Who are two like fandom things that I know from doing cons for 15 years are like beloved franchises, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to be able to just watch one episode. I got to have like,
But see, you know what? I got to admit, I did that with Lord of the Rings. I don't get into TV shows. I haven't watched a TV show honestly since like
TV's awesome now.
1989.
TV is awesome now. It's awesome.
I don't have time for it in my life. I don't. But so if I have time for anything, I'll sit down and watch a movie. Even if it's an old movie, I just prefer the idea of like a 2-hour story and I'm done. No further commitments necessary. But anyway, but when it came to the Lord of the Rings thing, you know, I auditioned for that part. I don't know how many people know that, but I actually auditioned for that part. That part. You know that.
I don't know if I remember. I know that I auditioned for River's part in Stand By Me.
Yeah, but I auditioned for your part. Dude, you came over afterwards and you felt so bad. We had that long talk out by my swimming pool and you were like, you took me out to dinner.
Totally remember
You were
that.
like, bro, I just gotta tell you, I feel really bad. I was on the set and they told me and I felt really bad and I was like, don't worry about it.
Anything that's painful for friends of mine, I block.
Yeah, that's good. It's a good way to be. No, but he was really a gentleman about it, to be honest, because I was hurting at that time, you know, and he was too, and it was kind of like, I was like, I really needed it. He's like, bro, I got 3 kids, or, whatever. I really needed it. I was like, yeah, you did. You did. It's true. It's true. No, I mean, I didn't have a kid yet, and it was a different situation, and and he deserved it.
Sam?
And he, and he did, and the point is that I watched it for him. And when I got into it, I was like, dude, you killed it. I mean, you so
He's
killed
really
it
good.
in that game.
Did I show this? One night, my wife and I, we binge watched the extended version.
That's a big
I
commitment.
watched the extended one of all.
10 hours. It was like over 10 hours. It was a long time.
I watched the extended one of all 3 of them.
Did she like it?
Oh my God, yeah.
I make
His
a
wife
week
is
out of it.
awesome.
But then again, I've also watched, of course, all the Indiana Jones movies over and over. So, legends, folks.
Show out.
All right, real quick, because we got to wrap this up in the glasses right here. Oh, do you want to tell that story real quick, Sean, for the people that don't know?
Well, it's my responsibility. There was a Profiles in History did a TV show where they dealt with a lot of movie memorabilia and stuff like that, and awesome. Like Joe Madalena has some of the coolest stuff. I brought my 14-year-old to see that, and she was like, got to hold the Walter PPK, like James Bond's gun, and Charlie Chaplin's bolo hat, and like the switchblade from Rebel Without a Cause, and like he just has the coolest stuff. So we were talking about stuff of mine, you know, things that I got to keep from movies, and he told me what he thought that would be worth. And it's a lot of money. And not that you'd ever sell it. Actually, the funny thing about memorabilia is the more you love it, the map.
The treasure map.
Well, I did have the map, but then I left to go do Memphis Belle, and my mom sold our house.
Oh no!
And like the way my mom and stepdad would roll is big dumpster, boom, stuff would go. If she didn't know what it was or whatever, so I wouldn't have held her responsible for the fact that I left it like up in the attic or whatever. So I pray that someday it will in the attic.
Right.
See what I just did there?
Yeah. Ouch, that hurts. doesn't
Yeah.
It hurts.
Time. He's giving us time. You guys, it was really. Thank you for
Great
coming and hanging
panel.
out.
Have fun.
Let's give a big hand, everybody. Corey Feldman, Sean Astin, Jonathan Keith Kwan. Please come see them at their tables, and thank you for coming out.